write an email or have a quick answer. And then you have two others. You have the thinking and the pro. Pro often like you use that really fast and then you never have it. It's like after 10 times they don't give it to you or you have to pay more. And thinking is the one I use the most. So because here for each time you have to do something complex, you have to think about it, you have to create like something in Excel, do financial analysis. This is the best. And I never saw a big difference between the thinking and pro. So that's why, like by default, I always go to thinking. And so what we even did is to show based on the complexity and based on the time, this is how you choose. And so that's why I will do an example or many examples, but mostly is choosing here the thinking. Because the thing with auto is sometimes you'll be happy that it selects the thinking, sometimes not. And once you know how to select yourself, you don't want the auto mode, you want to do it yourself. So really the main takeaway is these reasoning models that a lot of people ignore before. Now, like there are more of use and you can even choose, and they are not called like a specific model, they are called like just thinking.
Okay, that makes sense. Still a little bit confusing, but I'm getting there.
I know.
You have one on here right in the middle. It says think about that.
Yeah.
What is that? Because that's not a model selection, right? You're just adding to the prompt. Think about that. Why would you use
Yeah.
that?
So imagine when you have the auto mode on, if you don't say anything, then it will try to understand if your model needs to think about it. Like if the model needs to, if you say it, then it will choose the route of the thinking even harder than if it has to decide by itself. But if you activate it manually, then by default it will do it.
Okay.
So that's why, like, even before the reasoning models, when you were asking that, the output were always better. It's just like, you know, like the cursor to increase to the right. And it's just like adding this. But by default, I always encourage people to go to this one, manual selection, or the fast mode. So
Okay.
ignore all of the rest.
And when you say fast versus slow time of response, how much time are we talking about? Like sometimes when I use thinking mode, it's 15 seconds, it's 45 seconds. Sometimes
Yeah.
if I'm doing like deep research, it's 15 minutes because it's going out into the, into the web and doing lots of searches and bringing back research. But 15 seconds, 45 seconds, that doesn't seem like a lot of time
Yeah.
for it to think. Is that why you always suggest use the thinking mode? When should I absolutely use fast mode?
So let's do actually an example just to
Okay.
show you. So I did something on reconciliation with AI. So that's for accountant. And if so, the fast, they call it now instant. They love to change everything all the time to confuse us. So imagine we have this two Excel files, one with the bank statement and one with the general ledger. So the second one is the general ledger. And I will go to ChatGPT and I will just choose the instant, so the fast one. So I'm saying that I'm an accountant, that I want to perform a reconciliation, and I'm just saying analyze these files and tell me how to do it in Excel. Okay? So right now, if I just add the file, so like this, I give context to explain like how these files look like, and I just send it. And here I didn't even like really cut the video or accelerate it. Really quickly, it gives you an answer. So there you
Okay.
don't wait. Okay? And the thing is, what you can see is the strategy here is really, I would say is okay, but the formula that it gives you, like, it's, I would say, like quite easy, and it implies that the reconciliation will work. So then if we go to the next part, if we go to the thinking mode, now I will act. So that's what I mean by people when I say, okay, you need to do it manually. is really you go there up left and you select thinking. And now I will ask exactly the same question, and I will also add my files, and we'll see that it will take a bit longer. Where because here like we don't ask it to do Excel work, because we just ask it to tell us how to do it in Excel, so not to do the Excel work, but and it can do it. So here you can see that now we have the thinking activated. So here I did accelerate it a bit, but you see it took 1 minute 48. So
Yeah.
before was instant, like it was writing straight away. Now I had to wait around 2 minutes. But let's see if those 2 minutes are worth it. Because before we had like kind of a simple strategy on how to do it in Excel. And now it starts already thinking that you will have like a lot of different problems. It's not like an easy one-to-one match. You have like one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one. You might have like bank lines that are unique. And what we see here, and I will go like a bit further, is a much deeper guide on how to do this in Excel. And so here it first tells you, like, we are not there yet at calculating. It tells you here's how you need first to do your like presentation of your Excel. Then how to adapt all of this, basically like helper columns. So before you do the analysis, do all of these columns so the analysis will be easier. And then it starts to give you a bit more complex formulas. And then it gives you how to handle the bank deposits, then how to do the bank only items, or how to find the timing differences. So it went really like much further. It's a bit like having a junior doing the task against somebody, a senior who did it already like 10 years and know exactly all of these little things that you will always forget.
Yeah. So I have a follow-up question, but I just want to remind everybody, head over to the poll section and make sure to fill out the second poll that we have up there for you. And Nicholas, like for that minute 42, it seems to be well worth it, right? Because the extra thinking produced a much more robust bank reconciliation that's going to save you a lot more time on the back end.
So this is something you need to think about differently now is imagine that all of this ChatGPT, or even if you use others, but they are team members. And imagine walking in your office in the morning and you go to your colleague number one where you say, oh, can you prepare for me this analysis? Then you go to another colleague, say, oh, like there was an email yesterday from marketing. They want an extract of this account. Can you send that to them? And then you get to another colleague, and you will not get from them like an instant response in 20 seconds. And maybe if you get that, it will be bad. So you want them to take their 15 minutes, 20 minutes to work on it, but then they will get back to you, give you the work, and then you will review and then send it. Here is the same principle. You activate your request. So I know people, what they do is they have like 2, 3 screens. They have like their main screen where with their email where they work, and then they launch a request left, then right. And when it's done, they go back to it, and then they continue to work, or they just go and grab a coffee. So
Makes
that's where I want to show like this analogy of having somebody working for you. That's the third example I want to show you in this reconciliation, is we can go even further than just having the thinking mode. Are you aware of the mode agent inside
no,
ChatGPT?
no. Tell me about it.
So after that, what we can do is, instead of just having the work done by you in Excel, we can also here, and let me just make it full screen.
So, while you're getting this full screen, in the last two, the response, you uploaded 2 Excel spreadsheets, and it
Yeah.
gave you step-by-step instructions on here's the formulas for what you do. Go to this tab, go to that tab, paste it here. Follow step by step, and we'll do the analysis. It sounds like what you're talking about here is that it's going to do that work for you. Is that correct?
Yeah. So let's see. Basically, here again, I put on the thinking mode, but now I click in the bottom and I activate the agent mode. And again, I'm asking the same help. And now I'm going to ask, okay, to perform the work. So not anymore give me the, like, tell me how to do it in Excel. I'm asking, okay, now perform the work in Excel. And also to document and to use
Is this
formulas.
and this is a new capability in ChatGPT 5? Like this is
Yeah.
the
So
the
they had it
model can,
before
oh,
ChatGPT 5, but the fact that you have the thinking mode on, it's even better.
okay.
So, and now what it does, it will create a desktop version where it will open the file and then work inside. And so it's like now really like having your staff like working on it. And so that's the thing, like often it will use Python to work on it. And so here I accelerated a bit the work, but basically now I describe what it's doing. And it's reading the file, it's doing the reconciliation, etc., etc. And so I think it took like, if I remember well, like 8 minutes or something like this. But that's the
Okay.
perfect time to go and grab a coffee, because if you have to do the reconciliation yourself, it's much harder. And
And and while you're doing this, can you like I when I'm in Excel, I'm not using Python. So can you explain here like why is it using Python to then create a spreadsheet?
yeah, so what it does is more to read the spreadsheet first and like do the work. But here you can see that what it did after now, it's save the spreadsheet into like a desktop. So it looks a bit old because ChatGPT went with a free version of Office. And then here we can see our file with the bank data, with also in the bottom we have the GL data, and we have here, you can see the formula is there. So we have already a formula. And in the reconciliation as well, here all of the tabs are reconciled. And then in the summary, we also have formulas inside. And then it gives us the spreadsheet. And this
Yeah.
spreadsheet, so I can open it. And what it did is basically it reconciled, like it was like 50%, 60% reconciled. So that's also what I want to show the truth. Like it's not optimal, like it doesn't do 100%. So, but we're already at 50, 60%. And that was like also a complex reconciliation because I put inside a lot of exceptions. And we can open the file and we can see here that we have the formula. And
Wow.
that's also what we want, is we have the audit trail through the formulas so we can audit if ChatGPT did it work correctly.
Yes, because all the
Yes.
formulas are there. And as you can see here, it wrote down all of the steps that it took
Yeah,
in a high level summary. So you could recreate it if you wanted to yourself, just like an auditor might ask you to recreate it. Or you want to scale this into a system. You want to take this and now scale it and automate it with some other functionality using those formulas.
yeah. And so I wanted to show like the three ways, like because you might, you might have something super simple where you need a formula in 10 seconds. So the instant is perfect. You might have something a bit more complex where you just need the thinking mode. And we have an example later. It also does Excel files for you. So if you want a file with formulas, it can also give it to you. But here it was really like you have to work step by step and you had to look at line by line. And this is where the agent is better than just the thinking mode. But we also see we are not there at 100%. Like there was like so many exceptions, so many like we know that sometimes you have to read and use like or like this is like 3 invoice together. Let's try if this 3 invoice match. Oh yeah, this works. And this is right for now is too much detail work for the AI and too many exceptions and too many like decision trees to get there. But it's just like we are at 50%. So every 3 months we get one iteration faster and faster. And maybe with a better prompt, if I say, okay, like think about all of these exceptions, maybe I will get to 80, 90%. So, but right now it's already what we can do. And like I have to say, like when I prepared that, I spent a lot of time generating the file with all of the exceptions. Plus, I also see, so really when I do instant, it cannot do the reconciliation. Like even when I asked to do it in Excel, it was like failing, only like 5 or 10% were reconciled. Then with the thinking, it was at 30, 40%. And with the agent, we were more at 50, 60%. So we are not there at 100% yet.
But still huge amount of productivity gains. And just as you would with maybe a junior associate, they may only get 80% of the way there, or you may have to break up the task into multiple different tasks, so the agent can follow along, has a long enough context window to handle a task before you kind of give it the next one. So super interesting. Just a reminder to everybody, throw your Q&A into the Q&A section. Love seeing the chat, but if there's questions, please put it into the Q&A so we can get to it at the end. And then there is, I think, a third poll up there right now. So go ahead and do the third poll as well. Cool. Nicholas, that was really cool. So that's reconciliations. We have a lot of accountants here. And so we want to talk about exactly journal entries, right? So after we've done reconciliations, after we've gone through a ton of data, we want to create that journal entry and then load it up into our accounting system. So help us understand with an example of using AI to create journal entries for us.
Yeah. So here we have a file with credit card statements. And the thing is, we need to categorize all of these transactions into different GL accounts. So usually if you do that as an accountant, like you go through all of the lines and then you categorize manually. Here, we're going to ask AI to help us with this. And I'm going to attach the bank statement. And for the questions that come like, oh, can I upload my data or not? This is depending on if you have a corporate license or not. I do have one, like I have a business account where it's fine for me, like it's secured, but you need to know if your company allows you that. And so what I do is, like I will explain, so I give the context and I explain based on the description in column B. Can you categorize? And my categories are these 6 accounts. Okay, so normally I will have somebody in my team like go and like just like line by line to categorize this. Then I also ask to do it directly in the file. Like don't give me a list in the text. I want the Excel work to be done. So that's the prompt. I added the file. So here, this credit card statement. And then we're going to activate the thinking mode because it's a complex task. And here it will again like take a few minutes until we get the work. So for everybody here, like of course, like I shortened that because we don't want to just look at ChatGPT working for 5 minutes without doing anything for us. So I shortened that, but it took like 5-6 minutes of thinking. And then I have this Excel document. And now what we can see is in the column L, we'll see that in the column L, everything is others. So now like it's basically you recruited a trainee and they just didn't want to take any risk. And they say, oh yeah, like we don't know, like everything is others. So I'm really unhappy, okay? So now you coach back the trainee and you say like you missed a lot of lines, you could have categorized better, so you are a bit harder. And it's also to show you the truth, because if I only show what works, you will, and when it doesn't work for you, you will think like, oh, Nicolas is just like cheating us. It is not true. So here I give examples. I explain, no, like you should not categorize everything with others when you don't know, like try harder. A bit like, and that's a lot of time with AI, it's iteration. You need to have a discussion. So then I explain a bit more what I want. And so now, second iteration. Okay, Dave? And I'm sure you will recognize this, that sometimes you never get from the first time the output you need from AI. Like you need a bit of work. And I was curious, like, what is happening? Like, why it's so bad? And then I open and I see that basically the technique that ChatGPT choose is to list a lot of words. And if one of these words is there, then we can categorize it. And I found this technique really, really bad, because I thought, oh, if it's not inside, but it means the same thing, it will not be categorized. So I found it as really not really AI based, but more like automation based or logic based, which I didn't like. So now that I knew by opening it that it does this, and you don't need to be a coder to understand that, oh, I see a cloud keywords, it doesn't work. Then I open it. And when we open this, well, again, like it's slightly better, but it's still really bad. So
Mm-hmm.
now I could stop, right? A lot of time, like a lot of people will stop. And this is where you need to give AI like a third chance, and you need to iterate. And because I open and I try to check like why it doesn't work, what is the system that is using, and what you can also do if you don't understand, you can ask AI like, what is your logic behind, like how are you doing that? And now I say like, don't do that, just look line by line, like just read every line and go line by line. So once I ask this, again, like normally it takes 5 minutes to think about that. And so it's doing the work. And now it shows me how it categorized everything. And now let's open it and let's see if we get a better result. So now what I have, and I zoomed on it, is it better, Dave?
Yes,
Is it better categorized?
much better.
Yeah. And I also went to it, like, I mean, a lot of things were also like I reviewed and I didn't see much differences that are obvious. So I was like, okay, now it understood. And it's crazy, like just by asking to think differently, how better it was. And I think there is the poll to ask, no? Uh,
Oh,
Dave.
yes. Another poll. Yes. Sorry, I'm just astounded by your work, so I am distracted. There is the fourth poll question. Please log over to the poll and answer the question. But what's amazing here is just as you would someone on your team, right? You wouldn't get frustrated and fire the person because they couldn't handle the task straight up, right? You gave them feedback, you gave it guidance, you asked, hey, how are you approaching this, and then steered the agent or the AI to the right direction of like, actually, that's not how I would go about it, why don't you try this approach instead. And it was able to react and integrate your feedback to actually produce something that's valuable.
Yeah. And so after I've done this, what I want now is create those journal entries. So what I do is I have an Excel file, which is a template on how I want journal entries to be done for NetSuite.
Mm-hmm.
So I have this template and I just upload it inside. And I say, okay, like based on this template, now create for me all of the journal entries. This is a bit easier because now the thinking work is done. Now it's more like an Excel work to do. And so this is done and takes a bit of time. And then we can see that after a few minutes, we have our file created for us. So we can click on it and open it. And now we see all of the journal entries, with the credit card payable, with the office supplies and equipment. So all of these line by lines have been created, and I can upload that to finish my monthly closing. So there, like, again, when you think about doing all of this work, I know a lot of people, they do that manually. Like they will like do the first thing in Excel, then like manually like copy and paste line by line. Some of them are better in Excel, so they will automate a bit, but you never get that fast. So that's really helpful. But
Yeah.
now,
Keep going.
the thing is, imagine you have to do that every month. Like you saw like how I had to re-explain AI everything to do. And there is a magic trick I want to explain to everybody. Here, we are going to use my secret for making AI consistent is once you have like I took like 30 minutes of my day to think with AI and coached AI. I don't want to have to spend the next 30 minutes next month again having like wrong result, not having the first like two times what I wanted. I really want that the result now works. And so what you do, and especially if you have also colleagues that need to do the same work, we are going to ask AI what is the system prompt to do this work. And it's really like this word, like system prompt is really important. So I ask, okay, how to do this work for the categorization. So that was the task number one. The second task is the work with the journal entries. And I also don't want to have to upload all the time the template in Excel. So I'm asking this, and when I ask about this, I will just accelerate a bit. So basically, I ask for these two tasks, and I say, okay, you need always to create an Excel file. And there, this applies to everything you do with AI. When you have really succeeded to have something you like, after like long iteration, you are asking the system prompt, and it's going to generate something so detailed that you could never have come up with so many details. And this system prompt will help you next time when you need to do the same work. You just need to copy and paste this either in a chat and then just, oh, here is the instruction, here's the Excel file, do the work. Or what you can do even better is you create a custom GPT or an agent based on this. And here you can see like for the Excel file, like the second one, because I said I'm not going to give you the template, you have to figure out yourself. It's detailing exactly the logic. It's detailing like the accounts to say like it needs to be an absolute amount, the debit, the credit, the logic tells exactly the columns like one by one, like in orders, populate as follow, like the logic on how it needs to be populated as well with which format. And this was done in 2 minutes, like this creation of instructions. And you can do that to a lot of work. Like once you spend time, could be like a prompt to create your emails, could be a prompt to create PowerPoint presentations. And now, like just I was a bit fast, but just to show to everybody, once you have this, you open this, and for the people that pay ChatGPT, you can click on Explore, create a GPT. And now basically we are going to create the GPT that is able to do that every month or even like any time that I ask. And the instructions that we had, I just go back here and I will just copy them here and go back here and then just paste that, saying like, oh, this is your command number one, is the categorization. And then the command number two is the journal entry. And now, so categorize is the number one. And then I will just paste it. And again,
Okay.
like to come up with these instructions, it's a lot of work.
Okay. And so you're creating a custom GPT that you can use every single month. Can you share this with your team? Can other people use this one?
Yeah. So you can see that once I've created it, so now I'm pasting it. And that's like that's basically like this extra 2-3 minutes work that you don't have to replicate every month, but also your team, like you said, if they want to benefit from your brain, where you spend time with AI, like coaching AI, well, once you have like given a nice logo, you have given the conversation starter, and you decide which model you recommend, you activate code interpreter, you create, and when you create, you have a lot of possibilities. You can just keep it for yourself, or you can give people in your organization. That's what I did. Like I allowed everybody in my organization, so in Nicolas Boucher's organization, to have access to it. And
Okay.
that's how you leverage a lot of work that is done by smart people that everybody in the team can have access to.
Can you, when you're creating that for the first time, right? You asked it for the prompt. Can you prompt it to create a custom GPT for you, or do you have to go into that other module and kind of do the copying and pasting?
So the for those instructions, you have two possibilities: is either you start from scratch or you ask ChatGPT to help you inside the builder.
Yep.
But you could see like all of the context of how the file looks like all of the steps where when you are happy, when you are not happy, all of this is super hard to explain writing that. But having the result you want and just saying now, like if you had to do that from the first time, what would be the instructions? It will give you the instruction which is much more complete than if you try to come up with this instruction yourself. And so typically I also do the same example when people they take a transcript and they go over the transcript and say, okay, from this transcript, I want to do maybe a PowerPoint presentation. And then they have like this 5 to 10 iterations saying, okay, first I want to do a presentation, give me the 5 slides. Then from each slide, I want to have bullet points, I want ideas of graphs. Or then, oh no, change the tone. Or here, my company is really focused on this business, so make it more industry related and not SaaS related. And then you change like 3, 5 parameters, and you had like a really long conversation, and next month you need to start exactly the same conversation. Instead, what you do, and you say, okay, now next month I want to have exactly the same result at the end, so give me the system prompt that will do all of the work we just did together. And
Makes
you
sense.
will have like a really long one, but it will save you the half an hour, 1 hour that you did together.
All right, I think we're on the last poll. So if you can head over to the poll section and fill out the fifth and final poll, I believe that's the last one. Genevieve, correct me if I'm wrong. Cool. Nicholas, we have just a few more minutes, and then we want to move over to Q&A. We have a lot of people asking questions in Q&A. Anything else you want to show us?
Yeah, so I want to show something more forward-looking when we think about the role of the accountants in the future. We all want that we let the transaction work for the robots, and we think more about how we can add more value. And I also know from experience, and that was the case in a lot of companies that I helped and where I worked before. Uh, you don't have everywhere like a head of FP&A, head of accounting, a controller, a CFO. Some teams like the head of accounting is the controller and the FP&A like is the same person. And so for people that are in this case where you do more than just accounting, I want to show you, or if you want to do more than accounting, I want to show you how you can use AI to help you, for example, for financial modeling, especially if it's something you have not been comfortable doing it, but you know how to do it like from principles. But just like the Excel work is not maybe your forte. So how can we use AI to do the Excel work for you and still prepare yourself for your meeting with your boss, which is tomorrow? So let's imagine your boss comes to you and say, look, we want to have a 5-year strategic plan with 3 scenarios. Make me the model, please, and make sure that we can discuss about it tomorrow. So you give the base, so an Excel file with the P&L of this year. And from this base, you have 3 scenarios: the base one, the US one, and the pessimistic. Really important is you need to describe how these scenarios are different from one another. Like, because a model without assumptions is not a model. And here, also really important, the prompt, you need to say, I want formulas and I want to make it like dynamic or variable. So like this, ChatGPT understand, okay, you want to have really a model where you can change things inside. Again, I use the thinking mode. And then let's see what ChatGPT 5 thinking mode can do for us. So it will take like 4 or 5 minutes, which again, like I combined for you because just watching this thinking is not really fun, but during this
Appreciate
time, you can go and grab a coffee. And um,
So
and
you
so,
loaded in the 2025 P&L, which are
yeah,
actuals, I would assume, and you're basically asking it to give you three different scenarios based on just a very short prompt, which is, like you said, increase 3% here, decrease that, increase, what did you say? Decrease expenses,
yeah,
maybe decrease sales. So very short prompt. Um, and it's going to produce the analysis for all three scenarios.
yeah. So we have the first tab, which is our assumptions sheet. And there you can see that we have the basic, pessimist, and US. And then we have, for each scenario, we have a tab. So the base scenario, you can see at the top, everything is linked with formulas.
Wow.
The US, same, linked with formulas. And we have the pessimistic one. And then, because it's better at documenting than us, you even have a README that explains how to use this file. So things that we were supposed to do that we never do because we don't have time. So let's imagine that I want to use it. And US, we have 11 million, okay, in 2030. And now my boss comes to me and say, no, like I want to see another scenario. Can you change it for me? Well, here, let's be more aggressive and let's see if we double the assumptions every year. Is there an impact in the tab scenario for US? And yes, here we see the change. And that's like something where people to build this, like it took literally just 5 minutes for ChatGPT to do it. And I didn't need it 10 times until I had one that worked. It worked from the first time for me. And 6 months, 3 months ago, I had to try like 5, 6 times to have one that works. Now, like I would say 80% of the time, if it's not too complex as well, it works.
Yeah.
And there is also one advantage is some I've done a lot of scenarios myself, and at one point it becomes so complex in your Excel work that it's really hard to change everything. Nobody understands it. And at the end, you always come back to something simple because your boss comes and says, no, just make it simple because I don't understand anymore when we change one thing, why at the end the result is not what I expect. So make it simpler. And the advantage here, like it choose first the simple route. But let me, before we go to Q&A, imagine you want to present that tomorrow to your boss. It's still a bit dry, right? So we can go and use AI to help us present this. So I'm going to use another mode, is the canvas mode. So really important for everybody. And we are going to build slide decks or a tool for presentation, showing the different scenarios. And also if during the meeting, somebody's asking us, what if the scenario, if we want to change the scenario to 50% or from 3% to 5%, what is the impact? You don't want to have to go back and work for 1 week until the next meeting. You want to have the answer straight away. So now it's building a mini app using, because we have all of the context from before, like we have the model, using everything we decided, and we can click preview. And we have this slide deck generated for us with the assumptions, with the graphs, and we have the revenue, we have after the margin, we have also after the EBIT. And if my boss during the meeting is asking me, show me the impact of changing the year 2020-30 for US. Okay, boss, let's see. And now, next graph, I can see the uptick straight away inside the meeting, and we are not needing another week to come back and to see the impact.
Wow. It's pretty amazing what it can do in essentially 5 minutes here. Like I don't know if I would take this exact copy into that meeting, but like with a little bit more finesse, a little bit more prompting, changing some of the presentation of it. That is very cool and is definitely something that could be used as a tool for having a discussion. Very cool.
Yeah, and I mean, you really transform the way you bring value as a finance person when you come up in a meeting with something that is easy for everybody to understand and to manage, because you bring solutions and not problems with this.
Yeah. I'm not an expert modeler. I had to learn that on the job. I'm an accountant. I'm a controller by trade, and I had to learn financial modeling. I'm not an expert. It took me a long time, a lot of Google searches and figuring out the right formulas to use. This is a kind of a cheat code to learn how to model and to produce something fairly quickly. We have 12 minutes left. I think we did all the polls. If not, go ahead and do the last poll here, but let's move over to Q&A. If anybody has any Q&A, please put it in. I'm going to do the most upvotes and let's see what we have here. Okay, the first question, this is a classic, which is how safe and reliable is it to upload data into ChatGPT? And I'll guess, we're talking about real data, right? Not fake data that you would upload. And I guess the question behind the question is like, how do we make sure that ChatGPT is safe for non-public private information, especially all the financial and operational metrics that we'd be loading up into it?
Yeah, so when you have a lot of different pricing and licenses for Copilot, ChatGPT, Gemini. All of them, they have corporate license or business license. So you need to review, but those business and corporate license, they do two things. They tell you, one, that the data that you put inside is not used to train a model. And you could see like in all of the screenshots I have and the videos, it's written in the model, in the bottom, we don't use the data you put in to train our model. So you have to confirm that, which is not the case for the free version or like the personal version where you just pay a bit, like by default it trains on your data, so you have to deactivate that. So that's the first one. For all of the corporate one, it doesn't train on your data. The second one is, what is the security system that OpenAI, Microsoft, Google has in place to protect that their servers where the activity is happening is not going to get leaked and that somebody else doesn't come to steal the data that is on it. And actually, all of this is nothing new, because when today you trust Google, Microsoft, or any other provider with your emails, when you trust Microsoft to put your Excel file with all of this confidential data online, you trust them. And what they have is they have a system in place which are validated by external auditors. And actually the highest standard in place is made by us, like the accountant, by the AI CPA, which is the SOC 2 or SOC 3 reports done by an auditor, where they come and they audit if the security systems of this company is high enough. And what they show, all of them, is those corporate license, they have either a SOC 2 or SOC 3 type of security reports. And this is the same security that before, when you trusted Microsoft or you trusted Google to put their data and save their data on their drive or their cloud, those are the same systems. So not new in terms of security, is used exactly the same security level than what we have always been trusted for cloud.
Yeah. Valda here in the chat, thank you, Valda, for saying this. Or is it Valda or Veda? I apologize. The I and the L look similar. She says she pays for personal ChatGPT, but she manually changed the settings to not use her data for training, which is good advice.